I am a plumber, currently working on a construction site. During our work, we used a drain snake and pulled up about 10 to 15 pounds of something that looked like meat, but no one could tell exactly what it was. In December 2017, when plumbers were called to a quiet residential neighborhood in Ontario, they thought it would just be a simple drain clearing job. Using a drain snake, a specialized plumbing tool with a long cable and a spiral tip, they expected to resolve the issue within an hour if the blockage wasn't too severe. However, this time, things were more complicated. The pipe had been clogged for several days, causing concern among neighbors who were eager to see the problem resolved quickly. But what they found in the drain turned the situation into a crime scene. This horrifying discovery led to police intervention when the plumbers uncovered evidence of a gruesome murder. Human body parts had been flushed down the toilet, leaving a chilling aftermath. This is the haunting story of Adam Strong. It all began with Rory Hosek. Born in July 1999 in Oshawa, a peaceful suburb in Ontario, Canada, Rory was a bright, lively girl who loved animals and older people. Outside of school, she actively participated in the Student Officer Corps and was twice named Student of the Year when she was only 13. However, as she entered high school, Rory's life began to take a different path. At 14, she was introduced to methamphetamine, which led to a struggle with addiction. Rory came from a complicated family background. Her grandfather, Bernie Gindin, also known as Bernie the Frog, was the founder of the Satan's Choice Motorcycle Club, once the second largest motorcycle club in the world. A criminal biker, Bernie had a criminal record involving drugs and violence, spending 22 years in prison, and fathered between 11 and 16 children. One of them was Rory's uncle, Harley Davidson Guyan, owner of a clothing store in Oshawa. Rory had a close relationship with her uncle Harley. As a member of the Hells Angels, Harley had been involved in drug-related crimes. He had a tattoo on his back marking his battle record in prison with 41 victories, no losses. Despite his past, Harley was very affectionate toward his teenage niece. In 2016, when Rory was 17, she lived with Harley and his family during his house arrest for drug charges. Rory's mother, Shannon Dion, had once turned to the Children's Aid Society, believing it was the only way to help her daughter overcome her addiction. However, the services didn't have much effect, but Rory began to change on her own. During the last 6 months of her life, she became more active. She had a boyfriend named Tony, her own apartment, and even started working. Harley helped Rory and her mother with $1,000 to cover expenses, but Rory became financially independent and returned to school. Things seemed to be improving until August 2017, when Rory's aunt, Michelle Gwind, took her to buy a pregnancy test at a pharmacy. The results showed she was pregnant, and Rory decided to keep the baby, excited about becoming a mother. But then things took a sudden turn for the worse. On August 10th, Rory's mother's house caught fire for unknown reasons, injuring Shannon and killing the family dog. This incident may have contributed to Rory's emotional breakdown. She frequently visited the Refuge, a youth center, where staff noted her relapse into drug addiction. However, they reported that she seemed to be doing better by August. A few days before the end of August, Harley met Rory for the last time. Harley noticed something unusual about Rory during their last encounter. She didn't want to share what was going on with her and kept a mysterious attitude. He described the hug she gave him that day as heartbreaking, the biggest one she'd ever given him, almost as if it were a final farewell. On August 29, 2017, Rory's friend and the friend's mother took her to the hospital. The exact reason is unclear, but she was described as experiencing a mental breakdown. Surveillance footage recorded the three of them sitting in the waiting room. A short time later, Rory's friend and the friend's mother left the hospital, leaving her alone to wait. Rory sat in the waiting room for another 15 minutes, but left before the doctor could see her. The camera captured the moment she walked out of the hospital alone. That would be the last time Rory was seen alive. When Rory didn't appear at the shelter for a few days, her friends and counselors started to worry. Her family also quickly realized something was wrong. while some suspected she had run away and returned to her old lifestyle. Those closest to her insisted that Rory wouldn't have done that. Despite her recent struggles, she was pregnant and in a stable relationship. The fears became a chilling reality on September 11th, 2017, at Oshawa Harbor. On a quiet evening, an elderly man and his 11-year-old grandson were fishing on the pier. They noticed something unusual floating in the water. Initially, they thought it was just a piece of trash. Wanting to clean up the area, they used their fishing line to pull the object closer. After about half an hour of effort, they finally managed to drag it to shore. The object floating on the water was eventually pulled close enough for them to scoop it up with a net and bring it to the dock. One of the fishermen recalled that they initially thought it was an animal, possibly a chicken, but the truth was far worse. The grandfather of the boy said, "I thought it was a body." The object pulled from the water was actually the torso of a woman. The police were called to the scene and confirmed that the torso showed signs of injury. The body had been severed, suggesting it was a deliberate act. A woman had been murdered, and her body had been dumped in the lake. A reporter on the scene broadcasted live from Oshawa Harbor, "Good evening. The riverfront, once a bustling area, has now become a disturbing crime scene." The discovery made by a fisherman and his grandson has raised many questions. Who was the victim? Where did she come from? And why would someone want to kill her? The body was taken for identification. Police said they would work with investigative agencies to see if there were any unresolved missing person cases. However, with the vast expanse of Lake Ontario, authorities did not rule out the possibility that the body had been brought to Oshawa from elsewhere. The lack of a pelvis further complicated the identification process, and the state of the body made it impossible to determine if the victim was pregnant. It took nearly 2 months, until November 10th, for police to compare the DNA from the torso with samples from Rory Hosek's family. The results confirmed that the torso belonged to Rory, turning her disappearance into a murder case. But how did her torso end up in the lake? Who killed her? And where are the rest of her body parts? There were no clues. The water in the lake had washed away all traces. The final movements of Rory remain a mystery. How long did she survive after leaving the hospital? Who did she meet? And what did they do to her? Both her family and the police continued to wait for answers. But it wasn't until December 28th, 2017, that things took a turn. A plumber in Oshawa made a horrifying discovery when he was called to deal with a blocked pipe. The blockage originated from a rental apartment upstairs, where a couple lived. The situation had been ongoing for several days, affecting the residents of the building, including Adam Strong, who had rented the basement apartment for over a decade. Although he had asked the upstairs neighbors to borrow a drain snake to deal with the issue himself, Strong believed the cause of the blockage was an inflated condom. However, when they couldn't resolve the issue, the tenants upstairs called the plumber to investigate. When the plumber identified the blockage as originating from the basement apartment, they knocked on Strong's door. The apartment reeked of a strong, foul odor. Strong appeared nervous, saying that the plumbing system was experiencing serious problems. However, when the plumbers began working, they discovered something horrifying that they had never seen before: human flesh in the waste pipe. Realizing the severity of the situation, they immediately called the police. When the police knocked on the door, Strong opened it and almost immediately said, "The scam is over. It's a body." He was arrested on the spot. While sitting in the patrol car, Strong continued to talk, leaving the officers stunned. He revealed, "If you want to find the rest of her, she's in my freezer." When the police checked the freezer, they found numerous dismembered body parts, including a human head. The neck of the head had a tattoo that read "Alive," matching the tattoo of Rory Hosek. DNA results confirmed that the body parts in the freezer belonged to Rory. Rory's autopsy showed that she had several facial injuries and 2 broken bones. The exact cause of death was unclear, but there was evidence suggesting she may have been strangled or died from blunt force trauma. Traces of drugs were found in her system, but the exact dosage couldn't be determined. Although the exact cause of death remains a mystery, it's clear that Rory died in a horrific attack. Adam Strong admitted his actions without hesitation, leaving a haunting question. The girl in the freezer was Rory. Do I need to answer any more questions? The police had difficulty extracting information from Adam Strong. Although he had previously boasted about having human remains in his apartment, during the interrogations, he was less cooperative. This forced the police to return to Strong's apartment to search for further evidence. His apartment was extremely messy. During the search, police discovered various restraint devices, adult toys, and several weapons, including a hammer. On the hammer, they found Rory's DNA. They also found Rory's running shoes in a plastic bag, seemingly covered in blood spatters. Bloodstains were also found on the walls and baseboards leading to Strong's bedroom. Not stopping there, Strong's online search history revealed his obsession with blood and death. This obsession had spread into real life in terrifying ways. In the apartment, the police also found an unexploded pipe bomb. A bomb squad was called to conduct a controlled detonation in the neighborhood. One of the most disturbing discoveries was a specialized knife found in Strong's drawer. This type of knife is used by hunters to cut and skin animals, a tool well suited for dismembering a body. When DNA testing was done on the knife, not only was Rory's DNA found, but also the DNA of another victim, Candace Fitzpatrick. Candace Fitzpatrick, 19, born in 1989, had many similarities with Rory. She was often seen on the streets of Oshawa and also had issues with drugs. However, she had a loving family and had been missing since March 2008. Her family reported her disappearance to Durham Regional Police in 2010. After not hearing from her for 2 years, Candace was only 18 when she vanished, and her family had been searching tirelessly for almost a decade. The discovery of Candace's DNA suggests that Strong was not a first-time offender. An expert remarked, "Clearly, this is someone with experience. He's done this before." Candace's mother, with a pained but determined voice, said, "My daughter was very strong. She didn't let anyone easily capture her, you know? So I know he knew exactly what he was doing." In the end, the police had a lead on what had happened to Candace, but it was far from a good outcome. Candace's DNA was found on the knife, but there were no signs of the rest of her body. They returned to interrogate Adam Strong. Initially, he focused on talking about Rory, revealing an indifferent, ruthless attitude. Strong detailed how he had dismembered Rory, an act he claimed to have begun on Christmas Eve 2017, because that was when the neighbors were away. When asked, "Did you start this on Christmas Eve?" he replied, "Yes, it was Christmas Eve. Rory was completely defrosted by then." Strong was charged with desecrating a body, and he believed that if he only answered questions about what he did after Rory's death, he could avoid more serious charges. However, the more he spoke, the more incriminating details he revealed, leading the judge to infer more about what he had done to Rory while she was still alive. Strong never truly confessed to killing Rory or Candace. He admitted to having dinner with Rory, that she had visited his apartment multiple times, and that he had dismembered her after she died. He seemed surprised when Rory's torso was found in Lake Ontario, even saying, "I didn't think she would float up." He also recounted that the process of disposing of the body parts had taken months, which he attributed to delays. Strong blamed his possession of the knife with Candace's DNA on the same delays. He admitted, "I should have gotten rid of it. If I had done that, maybe I wouldn't have been caught." At the same time, he also admitted that he had known Candace from before. Based on the testimonies and DNA evidence, the police had enough grounds to charge Adam Strong with 2 murders in November 2018, 1 year after the identification of Rory's body parts. There is little information about Strong. Born in 1972, 45 years old when the plumber discovered Rory's body. He worked part-time at a gas station and occasionally as a security guard on film sets. Strong claimed to have had a troubled childhood and blamed it for his behavior. "These are my actions, but I don't think I would have done them if I had been raised properly." Strong also had a history of issues with women. Prosecutors called 2 women who had been in relationships with him over 20 years ago when he was in his 20s. They reported that Strong tended to be controlling, coercive, and displayed violent behavior. The women who had been involved with Strong revealed that he liked to bind and choke. For one, this behavior was consensual, but the other one did not consent. She expressed fear for her safety. These behaviors painted a picture of a violent and ruthless individual. The defense attempted to suggest that the girls may have overdosed, and Strong, in panic, disposed of their bodies to avoid blame. However, the head injuries on Rory told a different story, disproving the overdose accident theory. Strong attempted to delay the proceedings. The trial took place during the pandemic, mostly via video link, but he repeatedly refused to appear. Strong complained, "I've been up all night. I'm tired. I want to sleep," and even refused to meet with his lawyer to discuss the case. His arrogance did not endear him to the court. On March 16, 2021, after several delays, Strong was convicted of first-degree murder for Rory Hasse and manslaughter for Candace Fitzpatrick. Notably, the court convicted him despite not having Candace's intact body and no clear confession for either murder. However, his admission of dismembering the body was enough to convince the court. The first-degree murder conviction carried an automatic life sentence, seemingly resigned to his fate. In July 2021, Strong confessed to a correctional officer about the location where he buried Candace's body. The police took him to an intersection in Oshawa, where he pointed out the spot where he believed he had buried her. They found Candace's remains, finally giving her family answers after more than 10 years of painful waiting. An outsider shared, "We've only had to endure this for about a year and a half. I can't imagine the pain Candace's family went through for 10 years. I've met that family. They're very kind. They would never have failed to report their daughter missing. They've been terribly hurt. It's hard to believe this happened so close to the police station, so close to downtown." The person continued, "I've lived in Oshawa for 43 years, born and raised here, and never thought we'd have to fear things like this. Even though I knew there were bad people, I didn't think it could be this cruel." However, you can't say he's someone sent straight from hell, if you know what I mean. Honestly, I don't know how to feel except incredibly grateful for the effort of the detectives, the commanders, and everyone involved in the case. His attitude is hard to understand. He shows no remorse. In his mind, he has judged and pardoned himself. I can't find words to describe him. I just think about trying to do the right thing for this city, for my family, and my friends. We'll never go back to how things were, because this crime has destroyed all of us. The harsh sentence could be particularly dangerous for Strong. Rory had family ties to motorcycle gangs, including Bernie Gindin, the founder of the notorious Satan's Choice Club. This meant that individuals in prison linked to these gangs would seek revenge. As one criminal said, "You can't kill the granddaughter of a Hells Angels member and get away with it." Broadly speaking, you can't kill the granddaughter of a biker and not face consequences. Still, we don't yet know exactly how Strong met Candace and Rory or why he killed them. The prosecution assumes the attacks were random, that he met them on the street and abducted them. Strong has yet to reveal the truth. More concerning is the gap of several years between the first and second murders. We can't be sure what he was doing during that time or whether there are more victims. What do you think about this horrifying story? How was Strong's crime not detected for so long? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. See you in the next video of The Decoder. Stay safe and follow our channel.